The EIV Small Office solution is basically a peer-to-peer solution which does not require a central PABX or server as a central operating point in the customer's office. The phones are what they call a peer-to-peer solution, so each phone is individually talking to all other phones across the network. We can have the phones configured up to 16 in an office, and we can have up to 4 voice over IP lines configured through to them. The EIV Small Office is very much a plug-and-play type solution, in respect that once the first main phone has been programmed and set up and deployed onto the customer site, the customer can expand, or the technician can expand, the voice over IP solution by simply plugging in another brand new phone straight out of the box into the customer's network, whereupon that phone will start up, check across the network, identify that there are other EIV phones there, and then sequentially add itself as the next extension in the solution and copy all the settings across from the other phones that are already on the customer site. The feature set on the EIV Small Office are very functional, offering all the fundamentals of a PABX, as well as having the option of a DSS display for extension status, etc. The EIV Small Office is designed to work across the customer's LAN, and all phones are to be in the LAN environment. Fundamentally, as you can see from this diagram, all the phones are connected and talking to each other across the customer's network. They are sitting behind the customer's router, and they work behind what we call behind the NAT, okay, and use SIP registration to go through to the ITSP. No special programming needs to be done on the customer's router. No ports need to be opened. If we compare the EIV Small Office to a traditional IP PABX, each of the traditional IP PABX extensions need to go through the SIP server that is on site before it can be transferred or can communicate to another phone. Whereas the EIV does not have to go through any server whatsoever, it simply is communicating to each other. This makes a very robust solution, and the only traffic that you actually get out through to your ITSP is the actual line traffic of the 4 external lines, which so is also quite frugal on the bandwidth when you are using voice over IP across a network. As the EIV Small Office is what we call a peer-to-peer and doesn't use a central KSU, the deployment costs of the EIV are very flat. So basically all the customer is paying for is the cost of each phone. There is no additional equipment needed in a central IP PBX or even a soft switch, and no licensing is needed either. As the customer grows, they simply add another phone. From the dealer distributor perspective, it makes it quite an easy phone to manage, because once the phone is installed, if the customer decides 2 months later, well, I want an extra phone, they simply take a phone straight out of stock off the shelf, can literally courier it straight out to the customer if the customer is quite happy to plug it into their network, and when the customer does, the phone will automatically fire up and connect to the network and seek out information from the existing EIV Small Office phones that are already installed. The EIV Small Office phones are quite a functional option. They have a large display, soft keys, etc., along with line keys, function keys, headset options, etc., as well as a DSS module, 22 button. The phones are RFC 3261 SIP compliant. They are very much an intelligent install, plug and play. Once one phone is programmed, the rest can simply be plugged in and they will copy all the programming across. Each phone has a 2-port Ethernet switch on the back, so it can be plugged in line with the customer's desktop. The PoE is standard on all phones, or there is a power pack option if you so wish. We have 4 soft keys which drive the menu options, etc. as the phone operates. With the navigation key with an enter key in there, volume up and down key for the handset and the hands-free, etc. Multi-line appearance, all of 4 lines are displayed on the telephones, and they are actually giving status of whether they are ringing, they are on hold, or busy. We have call transfer, call hold, redial, 3-way conferencing, mute, headset port, phone book, message waiting indicator, voicemail, all on board each phone, along with a message light and key, full hands-free speakerphone, and an external module optional for an operator situation, or if simply the users just want to see what each other are doing, and you can put them on every phone. There is no limitation on this. The DSS module, or EDM, external display module, can be programmed to have various functions on it. For example, your busy lamp fields, so you can see whether extensions on hook, off hook, ringing, etc. You can use it for a single button transfer for transferring calls. Other options you can use the keys for are one-touch dials. We can use them also for features such as blocking calls, locking the phone, etc., or abbreviated codes when you need to, if you're sitting on the back of a hosted type solution where you want to dial specific codes back into the ITPS network. Feature set of the EIV is a good solid solution. Basically you have the configuration is the 4 SIP trunks, 16 extensions, very much plug and play, dynamic IP, peer discovery, peer-to-peer infrastructure. The administration side, the customer can administer their own system, or it can be remoted in from an external source if necessary, because it is fully browser-based programming. Call features, as you can see if you look down the list, it's a relatively good all-round call set features. Some of the highlights I would point out to you that perhaps are a little bit more unusual for your voice over IP solution is your paging. We have actual paging across the all phones, the paging group, and if someone pages, someone can go up to a phone and actually answer that page if they so wish. The busy lamp field, that is quite a unique really for the EIV Small Office on a voice over IP solution, so it gives full DSS indication of what is happening. So even if the operator just wants to have the DSS on their phone, this is gives them the full, literally a PABX type functionality, so they can see what is happening across their entire network. The voicemail side, each phone has its own personal voicemail, and the customer can play their own personal greeting. They can skip, delete the messages. They can pick up the messages from the auto attendant or their DDI number, set up a password change, etc. And the audio message is stored in the actual IP phone. Just also want to point out, go back to, skip back one slide there. Head back to the direct-in dialing. Each phone can have its own DDI number, so not only do we have a pilot number with, say, a group of 4 lines hunting. If the customer wishes this, they can also have the individual DDI number to each phone, which can go off to their voicemail. We have basic auto attendant. Now we have a day and a night greeting, and this basically enables people to ring up and dial individual extensions if they so wish. Each phone is security password with either admin password and user passwords. So again, this is just a example of a single site with an EIV phone solution on it. So we have the internet and data coming down through to your modem. It can be ADSL if necessary, through to fibre. you have an IP sharing router, e.g. DHCP, and then the phones are connected to the router, have their own IP addresses. Now just a couple of points about this. What I'd point out: one, the SIP registrations for each phone is controlled by what they call a master phone, and as the rule, the master phone is the first phone that is plugged in. It goes off to the ITSP and registers the SIP lines, etc. And then as the rest of the phones are plugged in, they in turn copy all the SIP registration information and all the program information across to themselves. So each phone is literally a duplicate of each other, so they've got a full set of programming in them. This is quite an important point, because if at any time the master phone is unplugged or removed, any of the other remaining phones will recognize, the master phone's gone, I will now take over that role, and then they'll automatically sort that out between themselves. If the second phone is taken out and there's only two left, they in turn will also take over control of the system. The point we're trying to make here, there is actually no one weak point in the solution. So if a phone is turned off, the rest of the phones keep working. The other suggestion I would make as well is, in this type of solution, I would suggest that PoE be used, so a small PoE switch be used for all the phones to feed off, and then you run a UPS on the router and on the PoE part of the switch, and then basically if there is a power cut, you will continue to have full operational phone system. The installation of the EIV small office is as simple or as difficult as you wish to make it. You can literally have the phone programmed up in your office with the SIP registrations and courier it out to the customer. They can plug it in and it'll work. Because the EIV runs behind the NAT and is a DHCP type setup, we could literally plug the EIV into pretty much any network, and it'll automatically start up and register and start working. Now, that is a general comment, I will say. If a particular network is set up in some way to stop that sort of deployment, it would you would have to do some extra settings. But the EIV is designed to fundamentally be a plug-and-play network. So you could send it directly out to the customer. So you could do your sale, fire it out to the customer and say, right, this is it, and this is how much it's going to cost. Put your SIP lines on it, and then if the customer requests to have a technician out there, you can actually send them out there and charge them on an hourly basis to do any alterations or any setups that the customer is having difficulty with. In turn, you could also have the technician go out and do the traditional install as well. The point we're trying to make is that it's totally flexible and up to how you want to do it. Again, what we are reiterating here is once the first phone is set up and plugged in, basically the installation is pretty much done, bar plugging in the rest of the phones and just doing a bit of training. Because the phones automatically detect each other and self-deploy, the phones just need to be plugged in the order that the customer wants them to be. For example, extension 200 is the first one plugged in. If Bob down the next office wants to be 201, well, he gets plugged in next. If the next one wants to be 202, they get plugged in next. And that's the order of the phones as they go in. Now, once they've been plugged in and they've been allocated their extension number and they've copied all their programming across from the other phones, if you unplug them and plug them back in, they will remember that they're extension 201 or 202 or 203. So there's no of the phones running and forgetting who they were, unless for some reason you deliberately reset the memory on the phone. Incoming call options. Generally, if you're run through the incoming call options, outgoing is pretty straightforward. You dial the extension number or you dial the phone number. There's no dialing access codes or anything, you simply just dial it and out you go. But incoming call, you need to be aware of how this is going to work. So we can have all phones ringing, We can have individual phones ringing, like the operator for example, and they can ring per SIP line. We can have an auto attendant that's going to ring, or we can have the main pilot, then each phone having its own DDI directed to the to each individual phone. Now, and then in turn going to voicemail. Also, we have call forwarding options to either voicemail, so we can go to the individual's extension's voicemail or the operator phone's voicemail box, or of course we can actually call forward through to cell phones or answer services or other numbers. Now the ePhone uses a SIP refer method for call forwarding, so essentially what that means is that once the call comes in and it's either call forward all, or call forward no answer, or call forward busy, it'll do a SIP refer to forward the call off. That means it's not actually going through the EIV system. It transfers it off the system back into the ITSP network and leaves the EIV lines free for more calls to come in. We're going to go through in detail on how the phones ring in, and just give you some working examples, but just need to touch base a little bit about the auto attendant. The auto attendant has got day greeting and a night greeting. It has auto day-night switching as an option. Allows the individual extensions to be dialed. Okay, so what that's basically saying is you can dial an extension number, but there is no single-digit dial. And the call forwarding options go to voicemail, the personal voicemail, or to the operator. And of course it can also be forwarded externally to a cell phone if you so wish. The personal voicemail, each small office phone has its own personal voicemail. The user can record their own greeting, e.g. thanks for calling Steve, unfortunately not here at the moment. If you'd like to leave your name and number after the tone, I'll return your call as soon as possible. Beep, and then the person records. The user can listen to their messages, delete the messages. They can pick up their messages from their phone or access the voicemail from an external location if they've got their own DDI or they've got the AA turned on the system. And the message wait indication, a number of messages received will be displayed on the phone. Some of the general features of the EIV. Each small office can set up a three-way conference call, or it's got an all paging group, so allows an extension to page all phones. The page can be made and then anyone can actually pick up that page from any of the EIV phones. So when the page is made and I'm talking through and you can hear my voice coming through all the phones, there's actually a soft key that comes up on the EIV phone, and if I press that I can actually answer it and we'll be connected together and talking with each other. It's quite a good unique feature for the EIV phone. We've also got a single page where the individual phones can be paged, the paging set up and mute, and also two-way speech if you so wish. So I can actually page into a phone and have that phone so that I'm either just coming through and I can't hear what's happening in the room, or I can actually turn on the microphone so that people can answer me back. Totally programmable. We can name the extensions. It's got multi-language displays. We've got automatic day, night service based on 24-hour clock. We have personal speed dials of 60 and public book of 140 numbers. Now finally, we just want to go through the incoming calls because we need to understand some of the rules here. All calls answered by the operator. So essentially all the calls are answered by the operator, and the extension could press the flashing line keys. So we'd have an incoming number here. This main phone is ringing. On all the other phones, we've got the line keys will be flashing, indicating if there is a call coming in, and if they hear the operator ringing they can press the line key and then they will answer the call. Okay? If the call is not answered, it will be directed to the operator's mailbox or no answer. Okay, and this forward timer is flexible. Okay, The caller will hear the operator's greeting, saying that thanks for calling, we are not available right now. Please leave a message and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Beep, and they leave a message. Okay. Next option is option 2, all calls ringing. Now this is the default setting of the system. Now, so on incoming calls, every single phone will ring, and basically anyone can pick it up and answer it. Calls that are not answered within 60 seconds, and this is a fixed timer, can be rerouted to the operator's mailbox, and they will hear the operator's mailbox message, and they can leave a message. We've got auto attendant. So auto attendant, basically calls come into the operator greeting, and it is only one greeting and for the day and one greeting for the night, and basically says, hi, thanks for calling XYZ company. If you want Bob, dial 201. If you want Steve, dial 202. If you want Harry, dial 205. Otherwise dial 0 for the operator. If any of the extensions that are there don't have a call forward set on their phone, the system will actually come back and if they don't answer, with a secondary option, say star to try the ringing extension again, or hash to leave a message, or it'll just forward through to their mailbox or external if they so wish, or 0 to the operator. What we're going to be doing here is having a quick overview of the EIV small office peer-to-peer phone. Now, as you can see, pretty much a standard looking phone here. We've got our large LCD display, soft keys here to control the menu that comes up on the phone when it's up and running. We have our controller and directional keys, enter key, dial pad. We have volume control for headset, handset and speakerphone. Message keys, transfer keys, conference keys, redial keys, etc., along with phone book, etc. These keys down here, lines 1 through to 4, they will come on and off as the lines are used and or ringing or on hold. We've got our speaker, hands-free key here, mute for muting the microphone on either the handset, hands-free or on the headset. We have our headset key here. Now, headset just plugs into the side of the phone here. Would recommend a noise cancelling headset for best performance, but it does not need an amplifier or anything. The phone comes fully amplified, ready to go. Actually, one of the nice functionalities of this phone is that if you wish to have a headset or anything like that, and the phone rings, it doesn't matter what mode the phone's in, you don't have to switch it. It automatically will answer no matter what you do. For example, if you have a headset connected, you just pick up the handset if you wish to answer the call on the handset, or if you wish to answer on the hands-free, just press the speaker key and it'll answer hands-free mode. Or if it's ringing and you want to answer with the headset, you press the headset key and it automatically will switch it through to the headset. Okay, if we roll the phone over, we can see that we have got the bracket here that we can set for various heights, etc., so to get the best effect out of the phone, and the user can set it up the way they want. On the back here we've got our external power pack input. If we don't have a PoE switch, if we do have a PoE switch, we just plug it straight into the phone. The phone is dual mode, either power pack or PoE. We've got our in and out ports here, so we can mount the phone through for the desktop PC. I'm just going to roll the phone over on its other side here. Now this phone can be pretty much used as a standard phone, such as this, which is with all 4 lines, etc. Or each phone also has got an optional DSS module that we can plug in. Here's the socket and mounting clips here. I'll just put the phone down. This is the DSS module. It is a 22 button DSS, and it just simply mounts into the side, slots in, locks in like so. There's 2 screw holes there to put 2 screws in there, so that really mounts in good and solid. Okay, and now The phone is a fully functional key phone in respect that we have the 4-line keys here, we have DSS keys down here for our extension indications, so they'll come on for the extension when the extension is busy, ringing. We can just do a one-touch transfer or one-touch just to ring. Any other spare keys you have can be used for one-touch speed dials and or functions. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly fire the phone up, and you can see it start up. Plug the PoE lead into there, the network, and the phone starts up. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is that the phone will come up, and I'll just press there, and its first thing it's doing is saying it's configuring. So it's sitting there looking at the network, and now it's looking, you can see a DHCP. By default, this is a phone directly out of the box, so nothing has been programmed on it, so it's looking for the DHCP and it's getting an IP. It's got an IP now, and you can see now it's coming up synchronized, please wait. So what it's now doing is looking across the network and saying, are there any other phones there? Am I the first, or am I just in line through with other phones? Now, because this phone has had a look across the network, it can't find any other phone, so it will automatically say, I'm extension 200. Okay, if I had another phone and I plugged it into the same network, it would do the same startup sequence, but it would find the first phone, recognize that it's extension 200, allocate itself extension 201, and copy all the settings across to the second phone. Now, this is the phone all operating and working. You'll notice that it has got a backlit display. By default, it's only been told to stay on for 10 seconds. That is programmable, and you can have it on continuously if you so wish. Helps the customer see what's happening on the phone, but if they find it distracting, it'll only turn on when the phone is active. As you can see, we have our menu keys here, forward key for call forwarding, D&D key, enabled, disabled, and extension information about the phone, if it's got a DDI and the status of it. Okay. Line status of the lines are down here. Now they match up with these 4 keys that are down here. These are the 4 SIP trunk keys. Now they're on solid right now because they are not registered. As I stated, this phone is straight out of the box, hasn't had any programming done to it whatsoever. We can see that the DSS module is also active, and these can be set up for various extensions and or features, which are again totally programmable by the customer and or technician as needed. Okay, what we're going to do now is just find the IP address of the small office line now that we've plugged it into the network. As you can see, you've got your standard phone here. It's on the network and running. No lines are registered, that's why they're on solid. We've got the DSS and our screen up here. So we're just going to zoom into the screen so you can see that clearly. Okay, this is extension 200. So we're going to go up here, and we've got our menu key here. We've got all the other soft keys such as forward, DMD, extension information, etc. Okay. But what we want to do, we want to find the IP address of this phone. So if we press the menu key, and then we scroll down to option 5, which is the phone information, press the tick key. Now it's telling us the phone information about the model, it's telling us the software version, it's telling us the MAC address, it's telling us the network type, which is DHCP, and now we have our IP address. Now, as you can see from the screen, it is actually 192.168.1.21. So let me just do that again for you. Drop out of menu, so we press the menu key. We're using the down arrow key down to option 5. We press the tick. And then we're using the down arrow key again, scrolling through the various lines, MAC address, DHCP, until we have our IP address. If we enter this IP address into the browser on our PCs, which is on the network as well, we will then access the browsing window for this particular phone. Okay, now that we have got the IP address of the EIV small office phone, we can open up our Explorer and we can type in, just stop that, and we can type in our IP address of the phone. And once you've done that, you will get up the login screen. Now by default, admin or lowercase, and the default password is 1234. Okay, so that will now let us go into the main screen of the telephone. So these are this is pretty much a default phone which we're going to be going through and just talking about as we go through it. But as you can see, we've got the system is under DHCP. Because of that, it has picked up its IP address, which we saw earlier. We're getting it from the phone, from the information part of the phone. It's got software version, MAC address of the telephone, configuration version is not running, and then we've got our SIP trunks 1, 2, 3 and 4 down here. Now they're all stated that they're all unregistered. You roll down here, we have got information telling us that these are the extensions connected. Now in this case we've only got one extension connected, and the little star next to it, that's telling it that it is actually the master phone. Now that means that that is the phone that is doing all the SIP registrations, controlling the SIP registrations, and that can change at any time, so please be aware of that. Now what we're going to do is just run through a few tabs and just go through some of the options for you. We click on our network. By default it's DHCP, but if we so wish we can actually set up for static IP. Our phone tab, we can set the system for English. By default it is English. We've got our microphone. These are all the volume controls for the various audio parts of the phone, so we can change the handset microphone, the handset speaker, the ringtone volume, the hands-free mic on the phone, the hands-free speaker, the headset mic and the headset speaker. Now, as a rule, leave these at default, or we haven't had any issues with having to change this, but occasionally you may get a headset that needs a little bit of tweaking on the microphone or tweaking on the headset, so you can adjust these settings. Now, one piece of advice is please be aware of overdriving any audio gear. So if you've got the microphone too sensitive, or the headset or handset earpiece too loud, you'll start getting feedback and or echo coming across the voice. So if you're getting that, be aware of these settings here. Tone type. Basically what we have here is the different tone types that are going to be used across the phone. I would recommend setting it for the United Kingdom. Ring type, it has all the different ringing types on the phone. You can have a play with them and get them sorted out. Echo canceller and VAD-CNG are disabled by default. Haven't had to use them myself personally, but just be aware they're there. Okay, now we start heading into some phone features. Now the user can also adjust a lot of these when they're logged in as well, but auto answer, so fundamentally the phone will auto answer incoming. Call line IP enabled, call waiting enabled. A hold reminder, so if the call is on hold and you want it to come back and give a reminder. Block anonymous calls. Basically, if any calls come into the phone and this is enabled, the phone will simply block the calls coming in. Now, some people might like that, some people might not like that. I don't find it very advantageous, because if someone is blocking their call-in ID, they simply just won't get through to you. Dialed out timeout. Basically that's the timer there, that once you finish dialing the last digit on your phone number, how long will the system wait before the digits are sent out to the ITSP. Auto redial attempt, thank you kindly. Auto redial attempt is set for 10 seconds. Now LCD, this is basically if the phone is idle for say 10 seconds, the light will, the backlit on the LCD on the screen of the phone will go out. Personally, I like that enabled all the time. Just makes it easier to see the screen no matter what state it's in. You have your D&D enabled and enabled. Caller line ID as well. Call waiting time. Call hold reminder. Phone lock. Now, the customer, this is a feature of the customer that they can actually lock the phone so people can't make any outgoing calls. Just be aware, it's probably the simplest way to get into it. And turn it off if the customer has done that. Ring back time. Auto redial time. And if you want to enable the hash at the end of the number when you dial out so that it sees the hash and will automatically start dialing. Your paging settings, all page call, will it receive it? Single page call, will it receive it? Auto mute on paging or not? And notification on a single page call or not. Okay. Speed dial settings, you can set up speed dial, various speed dial entries, your voicemail, password, your maximum length of the voicemail, message type if you so wish, on the phone. Call me, these are just if anyone calls you internally, the calls will come in. Phone extension number, the DTMF type in band, we suggest RFC 2833. Display the name, so if we had a name of a person there, we can just type their name in, so it's effectively naming the extension. DTMF payload type, we suggest, okay, just a little bit of an error there, she doesn't like spaces in between, so I'll just leave that at Steve, like so. DTMF payload, we suggest leaving it 101. Call forwarding, now it's basically call forward always, busy, and no answer, and no answer timer is yonder, there. Now, you can, if you wish to forward it to a voicemail, you simply put in VM. If you want to forward it to a cell phone number, we simply put in the cell phone number into any of these destinations. Okay, pretty straightforward from that perspective. Codec settings, G711U and A, and it also gives the packet timing. Block number, basically just blocking numbers, and pretext is if we are dialing certain numbers and we need to insert or replace numbers with certain other digits. If you're going to be doing this, I suggest you have a look at the manual and go through that in detail. Effectively, it says that insert if we dial a 0, and we might want to dial 0508, which I believe is an old network insertion number from years ago, and then if anyone dials 0, then they'll dial 0508 in front of it. Okay, so once you finish all that, you simply press save, and that is done. Your management, these are just for the management side of the telephone. For firmware upgrading configuration, if you've got a set profile you want to load up, music on hold, etc. At the moment the music on hold is just beeps on the when the customer is on hold. We have got private phone book, so we can, if we've got common private phone book or public phone book and they're quite large, we could load them into, or have a defaulted phone book we can just simply load in. These are for the voicemail side of things, not wouldn't worry about that too much, and that's just the logo for the actual phone. So again, that is via the HTTP upgrade. We also have a similar or a limited set under the TFTP or FPT upgrade. Okay, this is the account, so that's the admin and the 1234 password there, and that's the user password and user login and their password as well. That can be set, and then we can reset configuration, reset phone book, or reset all. If
just a quick note on this area here on reset configuration. If you do ever come across a situation where you've got a number of EIVs already deployed into a site and you put another phone in and for some reason it doesn't want to auto-configure, e.g. detect the other EIVs and download, it's more than likely because it's been plugged in already and it thinks it's got its own system and it won't automatically join another existing solution. If you ever come across that, simply do a reset configuration on the telephone. It'll clear out all its memory, and on boot up it'll then actually detect the existing EIV phones and start working again normally. Diagnostics, we can set up a syslog server. So if we want to do that, we can then type in our syslog server with our login software. There are various servers that you can use, FileZilla and all those kind of carry-ons, system log ports, etc. There's your voicemail status, percentage used, and we can show the system status here, which is basically giving us a bit of a diagnostics of what's happening here. The network status, okay, it's telling us that the LAN 1's connected, LAN 2 in the backup phone is not, and it can ping successfully to the gateway. We can download the system log if we so wish, and there is just some information about what's been happening on this particular system, which is nothing of great interest, but it just gives you all the various events of what is happening there. And download troubleshooting. Okay, and basically what it's telling us, it was looking for its IP, went to a delayed state and fired into its register state and prepared state. Extension master is 200 itself, and phone is in master state, e.g. this phone is the master phone. Okay, system. Now this is where it starts to get interesting for you guys, because this, out of all of these here, you'll change one or two little minor points, more than likely in the phone section here. But under the system, this is where you're actually going to set up your voice over IP registrations. Okay, so as you scroll down the page, you've got various trunk 1, trunk 2, trunk 3, trunk 4, and then other settings, which we'll get into in a minute. I want to show you a couple of things here. We're going to click into edit, so I'll just go back there. This is what it looks like before we go into it, so we press edit here, and then the phone is now in to edit mode, so we can change the settings. First thing I need to point out here is multi-service providers or not multi-service providers. Now let me point out the difference. If we have no multi-service providers, you will just see there is only one trunk to register. So that is like the pilot. So what the EIV phone is doing here is that you give me one registration and I'll register all 4 lines to it. Okay, so that means once that is set up in registration here, so say if we example go, I'm not picking on any particular service provider here, but if we just go SIP2 talk here, outbound is SIP, port registrations 5060, just drop down register server down here, I'm just going to go SIP2 talk again, SIP2 talk here again. Okay, again register port, register time expiry, set it to whatever the ITSP recommends. We'll pick on 60 in this case. Go to there. Phone number could be, okay, well there's a number. Display name, and we could just go test line. Authorized ID, now this is the password, so this is the authorized number for the ITSP. This is the phone number for the ITSP, but the authorized ID generally is the phone number again, and then of course the password. Can't stress the password being as robust as possible. I would set it to the longest that the ITSP would provide, including letters, numbers or characters if you can get it in. Make it as complex as possible. I know it can be a hassle when you're setting things up, because if you mistype something or something's wrong, but if you copy it across from a Word document or a notepad, it makes it a lot easier just to copy it and drop it into this box. But can't stress the security of having decent passwording on any VoIP, so we're not going to be actually using a real account, so we're just going to go authorized password whatever. Now that is effectively all we need for the situation where we are running one registration with 4 lines. Now once we've done this, we've saved it, it'll register, and all 4 lines can now dial out and receive calls, and I'll start hunting on truck number 1. If it's busy, go down to truck 2. If it's busy, down number 3. Nice and simple. Your other alternative is if you press multi-service providers, you are now registering each individual trunk. So if I scroll down here, you'll see all 4 trunks. Now, in this mode, you have to register with each individual registration number. So if you wanted 4 lines, you could have 4 registrations. Now, how would you use this if maybe the customer has various lines they just want to have coming in as individuals? Okay, they could do that, and there is also some ITSPs out there that use individual registrations, but then they do the hunting themselves in regards to how they want to set everything up. The only thing I'd point out here is that you cannot have lines 1 and 2 in hunting together and register to one number, and lines 3 and 4 register to a second number and hunting as 2 again. So it's either all 4 at once or individual, so just please bear that in mind. So I'm just going to kick it back into just a single registration. So that's pretty much the SIP registration. That's ready to go. I press save and off it goes. Now, answering positions, you would have seen the sales presentation part already. So basically we've got all ring, operator, auto attendant or extension. Okay, and again we've got this block anonymous option over here. So again, simple incoming, ringing plans, etc. You would have seen the the sales presentation, because as a technical side of things you should be watching the sales so that you know what they're being told as well. Okay, you've got your session timers, etc. option if you need it. Your server mode, whether it be a standard or a broadsoft. Basically, with any ITSP, things need to be tested as we are coming across them. We are testing them. If you've got any queries and questions about that, please contact us. All page and access code is *99. The operator setting by default is 200. Now down here we have got our operating mode, whether it be time, day or night. Okay, so you've got time, so basically the system will start at 9 and go at 5 for J service, or we can do it manually via feature codes or changing it in the browser. You've got your NAT settings if you're going to be using that. Your time settings, basically your time server, what format do you want it in? I personally like that a month, a year, 24-hour, 12-hour format, and time zone. Okay, we're going to kick down to Auckland, and daylight saving, auto daylight saving, or we can set it via dates. Okay, if you're going to use auto daylight saving, make sure that you have got a time server that's going to handle auto daylight saving in the right at the right times. Okay. Now, further down here we've got DDIs. Are we going to enable DDIs? Yes, we are. And effectively what this means is that every single extension can have 1 DDI each. This is separate from the SIP registration. This is a SIP registration system, so we are registering like the pilot number of the company, and we might have 4 lines off that, so that customers can dial in and out on any of the 4 lines, but this is the actual additional numbers that are coming down those 4 channels, and all we've got to do is put in the full number. For example, if it's a full number like that, and I want that to go to extension 201, that's it. That number will now go to extension 201 and will follow the voicemail or whatever settings you've got on that local phone. I'll leave that in there. Okay, number range settings. Pretty much you can have them from 200 to 899. Leave it at default. You basically just let the system look after itself. You can individually change the phone number, as you saw earlier in the page, but you can also, but if you've got any problems, particularly if you're introducing a new phone, just tell the phone to default and away it goes. Transfer recall setting, 30 seconds. These are auto provisioning servers. You, unless you're actually one of our telcos, you won't be using that. Emergency numbers, New Zealand is 111, and don't forget 911. People like doing that just overrides 12 hours, etc. The RTB base port by default is 10,000. Again, unless there's a reason for you to change that, please don't worry. And this is just resetting the public book and the resetting the system. Once we've done that, we go save. And of course I've been sitting there too long, gas back into you guys, so it's just timed out. Okay, phone books. These are quite cool. You have got private and public phone books. Essentially, you can just put in the name as Harry, phone number 021 610 323. I can actually make it ring different ring types if I want on incoming calls, and then I press save. Okay, now that is all saved. On personal speed dials I have got 20 numbers. Okay, this is the one of the things I like about the Smart Office. If I want to dial any of these numbers, all I've got to do is click dial. Little window pops up here, and you can't see it, it just came up because the trunks aren't connected. It just tried to dial out that number, so I just press it again, dial, and out it goes. Okay, same with the public one. Okay, we have got all of your public numbers, but next page, next page, next page, next page. You've got 140 public numbers. Each of these you can load into into the common phone book and have anybody dialing off them if they so wish. Okay. Idiom. By default, the 4 buttons on the phone are for the 4-line registrations. Once you add on the 22-button DSS key or EDM key, external display module, you can start programming the buttons to be pretty much any of these features. Okay, so we can have it as auto answer, all page, all paged, all paging, block anomalous, call blocking, call waiting, hold reminder, operating mode, as in day and night mode and all that kind of thing. Phone lock, interesting feature, be aware, 9 times out of 10 the customer's going to say, hey, phone lock, put a password in and I'll forget it. On the bright side, I suppose it's called service revenue, but just be aware of that one. Single page, single paging, busy lamp field, so that's if we want to put in a busy lamp field and have, for example, extension 200, 200, 201 or whatever. The busy lamp field basically is off, they're idle, on, they're ringing or solid, and you can transfer by just doing one touch dialing. Okay, speed dial and ring type. Okay, now buttons 1 to 12. If you look at the DSS key, and there'll be a video just after this. If you look at the DSS key, button 1 is the top left hand of the DSS down to the bottom, which is button number 12. Button 13 is the top right hand DS button right down. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's a manual with the two manuals. There's the administrator manual and a user manual. The administrator manual you should keep. The user manual is only slightly smaller than the administrator, but it just keeps the customer down to a certain level of access. Whether the customer has full administration level is totally up to them. Each phone is can be accessed via the browser.